Chapter 40. After the parade they'd lingered, visiting with people as they headed back to their vehicles. Alex knew they wouldn't be able to get out anytime soon anyway, because they'd be blocked in. Once most of the crowd was gone, she packed up their chairs and let Matt carry them back to the truck. She could have done it, but what was the point in pushing the issue? Besides, it made him feel better to carry them. She took him back to the rodeo grounds, still refusing to tell him what was going on. The crowd was several times as large as earlier at the arena, as the rodeo was a long-standing tradition and had a huge turnout from all over, not just locals. At the gate, Matt tried to buy their tickets, but she put an end to that. "My date I'm paying," she said firmly. He watched her for just a second, shrugged, and put his wallet back in his pocket. From the look in his eye, she knew she'd pay for that later, but it would be worth it. Once inside the gate, they went back up in the grandstands. It was harder to find seats this time, but she managed. "Is this what you do every 4th?" Matt asked as they paraded horses and rodeo royalty around the arena. Alex nodded and smiled as she watched some of her friends getting ready on the edges of the fenced area. "Yep. I love it. Mom and Dad should be here soon." She had chosen a spot with some extra space and she and Matt sat side by side, but not as close as they had that morning. She was trying to save room on the bench for her parents. "Any other traditions you should warn me about?" He watched her more than the show in front of them. She glanced at him, then looked back to the arena. "Why would I do that? You'd have no adventure if I did." She peeked at him from the corner of her eye, to see how he was reacting. He was still watching her. He did a lot of that. After the show, she took him back to the lot where they'd parked for the parade. This time she set the chairs up next to the tailgate. It was dark and she knew they wouldn't have long to wait. "You want something to drink?" he asked. "A lime slush would be nice." "All right." He headed for Sonic while she settled in and got ready for the fireworks. When he came back, he handed her the drink and took his seat beside her. "Are your folks gonna come watch with us?" "No, they're headed home." He looked around. They weren't the only ones waiting, the lot was filling up quickly. Are they the only ones in town that don't watch the fireworks? Maybe, I don't know. I haven't lived with them for several years. They always watched with me until I moved out, then they started telling me they were going home. They may be watching somewhere else, somewhere just the two of them. She shrugged, thinking about it for the first time. "I won't be home for hours anyway." He turned and looked at her. "We've been out since 6 this morning. How late are we gonna be?" She looked anywhere but at him. Late. "So, you're planning to sleep in tomorrow, right?" He looked like he was expecting her to agree. "I hadn't intended to. But I might be persuaded to. With the right incentive." She gave him a flirtatious smile and ran one finger up his thigh. "So what do you have planned after this?" "I usually go dancing." "Where?" "There are a couple of bands tonight, the bar has one, but there's one playing at the rodeo grounds too." "What would it take to convince you to skip the dancing and just go back to your house with me?" "I don't know. I always make a night of it for the 4th. "I'm not saying we won't make a night of it, just not in public." He leaned over and covered her mouth in a deep, hot kiss. She didn't know how long she was lost in his kiss, before someone clearing their throat nearby broke through. She pulled away and turned to see who was there. There were more than a few people in the area, more than she remembered having been there. She looked around but didn't see anyone she could put a name to. Figuring it was someone who had been uncomfortable with their public display, she settled in and waited for the fireworks to start.